To kick things off, Julia, let's break down why the phrase man without money or nothing even exists in our culture. Why does it keep surfacing in movies, music, and conversations?
Great starting point, Jason. Historically, money has symbolized power and security, especially for men. Throughout centuries, the provider role became intertwined with masculinity, so lacking money often equated to lacking value in the public eye.
So it's almost like an unwritten rule that sticks regardless of how times change. Would you say the roots are more cultural or economic?
It's a blend of both. Culturally, societies reward men who bring home wealth. Economically, limited opportunities in the past further enforce this. Even as economies shift, many communities still measure a man's worth by his financial status.
Let's transition to childhood. How early do these messages about money and manhood start shaping boys? And what are some typical examples?
It starts shockingly young. Boys often hear phrases like, be a man, don't rely on others, or your job is to provide. These ideas get reinforced by family, media, and even school systems, embedding the belief that their main value lies in earning.
That's powerful and limiting. Are there studies showing the impact of these early expectations?
Absolutely. A 2019 Pew Research survey found that 71% of adult men recall being pressured as kids to be responsible, often equated with financial success. This pressure can lead to anxiety and a narrow sense of identity.
Let's move to the present. With today's economy and social media, how does the pressure to earn affect men's mental health?
Social media amplifies comparison. Men constantly see curated images of wealth, luxury cars, homes, vacations. A 2022 APA report found that men who measure themselves against online peers are 2.5 times more likely to report anxiety or depression.
That's a serious statistic. What are some real examples of this pressure manifesting in daily life?
Many men work overtime in jobs they dislike or abandon dreams just to earn more. Some even hide their struggles to avoid appearing weak, leading to emotional burnout or risky behaviors like gambling or overworking.
This brings us to a critical question. Is a man's worth only measured by his income? Why is this such a prevalent mindset?
It's prevalent because income is visible and quantifiable, making it an easy though unfair yardstick. Unfortunately, this ignores qualities like kindness, intelligence, or integrity, which aren't as easily measured but are equally vital.
So when income drops, men may feel invisible or insignificant. Could you share what this does to self-esteem?
Certainly. Many men internalize financial setbacks as personal failure, leading to toxic self-talk like, I don't matter. Over time, this erodes confidence and increases risk for depression or social withdrawal.
Now, let's delve into the conflict men feel between societal expectations and their true identity. How does this tension play out?
It often feels like living with a mask. Society sets rigid rules: real men provide, don't show vulnerability, must have money. When a man's dreams or values diverge, he faces judgment and internal conflict, sometimes even identity crises.
What happens if he chooses passion over paychecks?
He risks being labeled as irresponsible or unambitious. For instance, artists or stay-at-home dads may be respected for their talent or care, but still criticized for not being the main financial provider.
Let's ground this discussion with real-life stories. Could you share an example of a man judged for lacking money and how he coped?
Certainly. Amir, a gifted programmer, was rejected by his fiancée's family for lacking a degree and stable income. Instead of giving up, he freelanced online, built a startup, and is now successful. His story shows resilience outlasts rejection.
That's inspiring. Do you have another example that highlights societal bias?
Yes. One artist abandoned his passion due to community criticism that art doesn't feed a family. Years later, he found fulfillment and recognition by returning to art, proving that value isn't just financial.
Building on these stories, can a man be truly happy and respected without wealth? What does research or experience suggest?
Research shows that happiness correlates more with relationships and purpose than income. According to a 2021 Harvard study, men with close connections and self-acceptance reported higher life satisfaction regardless of wealth.
So happiness is more about mindset and environment than money. What qualities support this?
Qualities like gratitude, authenticity, and resilience are key. Men who focus on growth, community, and integrity often find deeper contentment than those chasing external validation.
Let's get practical. How can men build real value beyond just money? What are some concrete steps or traits to develop?
Start with character honesty, patience, empathy. These are universally respected. Skills are next. Communication, leadership, or problem solving can be developed through free resources, making you valuable in any context.
And what about emotional intelligence?
That's crucial. Men who understand and manage emotions build better relationships and handle stress gracefully. It's a skill that pays lifelong dividends, both personally and professionally.
For men currently facing financial struggles, what advice can we offer to ease the pressure and promote resilience?
First, remember your worth isn't defined by your current bank balance. Set small, achievable goals for personal growth. Stay connected with supportive people and seek help when needed. No shame in that.
Are there specific techniques to manage stress during these times?
Yes, mindfulness, regular exercise, and journaling help process emotions. Also, focus on daily progress over perfection. Each step forward is a win, even if it's not financial.
As we wrap up, what final message would you share with listeners who feel held back by financial expectations?
Success is multidimensional. It's measured by courage, kindness, and perseverance, not just wealth. Keep growing, believe in your unique path, and surround yourself with people who value you for who you are.
That's beautifully put. To everyone listening, remember, you are more than your income. Your journey matters, and your best qualities can't be measured in dollars.
Thank you for joining us. Stay strong, stay authentic, and keep moving forward. Your worth is inherent. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. Welcome back to Personal Growth Talks. Jason, we often hear that a man's worth gets measured by his financial achievements. Can you share how this idea shapes men's identities and why it's important to reassess this definition of success?
Absolutely, Julia. Social norms frequently equate status with income or material possessions. However, studies from the American Psychological Association reveal that over 60% of men experience anxiety when they feel they haven't reached financial milestones. Reassessing success means looking at personal growth, relationships, and fulfillment as equally valuable.
So it's about balancing material and non-material achievements. But as we move forward, what are the hidden costs of tying self-worth so tightly to wealth?
One major cost is chronic stress. Men who internalize financial comparison often feel persistent shame or inadequacy, which can lead to depression or strained relationships. This cycle undermines self-confidence and creates what some psychologists call achievement anxiety.
It's enlightening to think of value in broader terms. Let's transition into how men can start breaking these patterns. Jason, you touched on comparison earlier. Can you explain how financial comparison emerges, especially among men, and what lasting effects it can have?
Certainly. From childhood, many boys are told their role is to provide, and media often glorifies wealth. This sets a baseline for self-worth that's externally defined. Long-term, it can lead to what researchers call status anxiety, a relentless feeling of falling behind peers.
Are there studies that quantify this effect?
Yes. A Harvard study found that men who frequently compare incomes are twice as likely to report low life satisfaction, regardless of actual earnings. It's the act of comparison itself that generates distress, not the absolute number.
That's a powerful insight. Let's explore how to break free from this mindset. You mentioned silent shame. How does this emotion manifest, and why is it so hard for men to talk about financial struggles openly?
Silent shame tends to grow in isolation. Men may feel admitting financial difficulties threatens their masculinity or leadership in the family. This internalized stigma often results in bottling up emotions, much like a pressure cooker lacking a release valve.
That analogy really hits home. Are there cultural factors that reinforce this silence?
Definitely. Many cultures still equate vulnerability with weakness for men. This encourages emotional suppression, which can amplify shame and prevent men from seeking help or sharing their burdens, perpetuating a cycle of secrecy.
Understanding these roots is crucial. Let's now discuss strategies to address and move past this shame. Purpose appears as a recurring theme in redefining worth. Jason, how can men start finding meaning that isn't tied to their bank account?
It starts with self-reflection, identifying what genuinely brings fulfillment. For example, volunteering, creative pursuits, or mentorship can provide a sense of purpose. According to a Gallup survey, people with strong non-financial purposes report 2.7 times higher well-being.
That's compelling data. Can you share a real-world story of someone who's made this shift?
Absolutely. One guest, David, left a high-paying job to start a community garden. Although his income dropped, he describes feeling more fulfilled than ever, impacting hundreds through food education.
Transitioning from external validation to internal satisfaction seems powerful. Now, how can men cultivate the resilience needed for this shift? Resilience is often touted as key to personal growth. What distinguishes emotional resilience in the context of financial setbacks?
Emotional resilience means viewing setbacks as temporary and surmountable. Instead of seeing a job loss as a personal failing, resilient individuals focus on adaptability. Much like athletes recovering from an injury, they train their minds to recover and learn.
How can men actively build this resilience? Are there daily practices or mindsets that help?
Practices like journaling, mindfulness, and seeking supportive communities are effective. A study in the Journal of Occupational Health found that men who engage in regular self-reflection and peer discussion are 40% less likely to suffer long-term effects from career setbacks.
Those are actionable steps. Let's discuss the role of relationships in this journey. Jason, research consistently shows that supportive relationships are vital to well-being. How do meaningful connections help men rebuild self-worth, especially during financial challenges?
Connections provide perspective and emotional safety. When men share experiences with trusted friends or partners, it normalizes struggle and counters isolation. In fact, a Stanford study found that men with strong social networks recover from personal crises nearly twice as fast.
It sounds like community can be a buffer against self-doubt. How can men cultivate these supportive environments?
It starts with vulnerability sharing honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. Joining groups or activities around shared interests can foster trust and belonging, which are antidotes to shame.
Those insights bridge us to redefining masculinity itself. Let's talk about masculinity. How do traditional norms around providing and toughness affect men's willingness to seek help or redefine success?
Traditional masculinity often discourages emotional openness, equating it with weakness. This can cause men to avoid therapy or honest conversations. However, new research shows that men who embrace evolving definitions of masculinity, valuing empathy and collaboration, report increased well-being.
Are there examples of movements or public figures challenging these norms?
Absolutely. Initiatives like Movember and public figures such as Terry Crews openly discuss vulnerability and mental health, providing powerful counter-narratives to the stoic provider archetype.
This brings us to practical strategies for building confidence from within. Building confidence without relying on external validation is challenging. What are some practical strategies men can use to develop authentic self-assurance?
One effective approach is setting process-oriented goals, focusing on personal growth rather than outcomes. For example, learning a new skill for enjoyment, not just for career advancement. Regular self-affirmation exercises also boost self-esteem, as shown in a UCLA study where participants reported a 35% increase in confidence after 1 month.
How can men maintain this confidence when facing setbacks or criticism?
It helps to reframe setbacks as opportunities for learning rather than proof of inadequacy. Practicing gratitude and maintaining a supportive peer group also provide emotional reinforcement.
Let's now look at the role of clarity in the journey toward contentment. Clarity seems foundational to lasting contentment. How can men clarify their values and align their lives accordingly, especially after years of chasing financial metrics?
It starts with introspection, identifying core values through exercises like journaling or value mapping. For instance, if creativity or family ranks high, making choices that prioritize these over salary leads to greater satisfaction. Research from the University of Chicago links value alignment to a 50% increase in life satisfaction.
What about men who feel stuck in roles that don't reflect their values?
Small incremental changes such as dedicating time each week to meaningful activities can gradually shift one's trajectory. It's about progress, not perfection.
This perspective prepares us for our final discussion on contentment. To close, Jason, how can men truly experience contentment no matter their financial situation?
Contentment stems from self-acceptance and gratitude for what one has, not what's lacking. Practicing mindfulness, celebrating small wins, and connecting with others foster a sense of abundance. Studies show that gratitude journaling reduces envy and increases happiness regardless of income.
For men worried about their future, what's one actionable step they can take today?
Start by acknowledging strengths and accomplishments, however modest. Taking inventory of what's going well shifts focus from scarcity to sufficiency, laying the foundation for lasting self-worth.
Thank you, Jason, for these transformative ideas. For our listeners, remember, your worth is far greater than your wallet.